Hey guys, it's Sarah. So today's video is going to be a really fun one. I wanted to do my version of the video that I've been seeing going around a lot where you talk about what your makeup collection would look like if you weren't a YouTuber. And I was gonna do that, but then I was having such a hard time figuring out what my collection would actually look like because so much of what I own was influenced by other YouTubers. So I thought maybe I could do a version where what would my makeup collection look like if YouTube didn't exist? Because I can remember a time many years ago before I watched YouTube, before YouTube was even part of my world at all, my collection fit into a small makeup bag, and most of what I owned was from very well-known drugstore brands. Before I went cruelty-free, I owned mostly products from like Covergirl, Maybelline, a little bit of Revlon. Yeah, those were the main ones. And then I discovered e.l.f. and then my whole world changed. But e.l.f. was really appealing to me because it was so inexpensive. And I did discover e.l.f. before I discovered YouTube, but it was pretty soon after I discovered e.l.f. that I started looking up makeup tutorials on YouTube, and then the rest is history. But I thought it would be fun to kind of think, okay, if YouTube didn't exist, my makeup consuming habits would be pretty similar to what they were back when I was in high school before I really started becoming a makeup collector. I probably wouldn't even be calling it a makeup collection. I would just be like, this is the makeup that I have in my makeup bag. So I would probably only own like one or two things per category. And so some of the products on this list are actually products that I have owned since before I started my YouTube channel. Like we're talking like 2015, 2016. It's all drugstore. I don't even think I would know about high-end brands if it weren't for YouTube. Like I was looking at the high-end products and I was like, there's no way I would have even heard of this brand or thought to purchase from it if I hadn't first heard about it on YouTube. Becca, Too Faced, I don't think I would, I might know about those brands, but I don't think I would be buying from them. Like I wouldn't be shopping at Sephora. In fact, I didn't buy anything from Sephora until I'd already had a channel for like 2 years. So anyway, all that is to say, it would be mostly drugstore brands and really just like the more well-known drugstore brands. But I do think it would be cruelty-free because I did start going cruelty-free before I started watching YouTube. So anyway, let's go ahead and get into it. So just kind of going step by step in a makeup routine, I don't think I would own a face primer. Even to this day, I don't really feel like primer is that necessary for me. I think if I didn't know about the world of YouTube, I would probably just be like, what does primer even do, you know? So I don't think I would own a face primer. For foundation, I think I would only own one foundation. I remember that's what I did before I started really getting into makeup. I would just have one foundation, I would use it up all the way, and then I would buy a new one. And I actually remember owning the e.l.f. Flawless Finish Foundation way before I was ever on YouTube. Back when I think it even had SPF in it. I think it was like SPF 20 or something like that. They've reformulated it since then. So I might own that one, although I remember not really liking that one back then, and I don't like the new formula either. But that might be the one that I would own. I would probably just use it anyway because that's what I did. Even if I didn't love a product, I would use it up regardless. The other one I would probably own would be one from Covergirl. I remember I used to use a Covergirl foundation that I think they still sell. I think it was in their clean line, and it's sort of in like a triangular bottle, and it had, I think, a blue cap. I think they still sell that. I would probably be using that one. I remember liking that one because I had really oily skin back then, so I might be using a different one in that line, but it was just a super basic Covergirl foundation. I remember using that up. Back then Covergirl wasn't cruelty-free, but luckily now they are. I would probably be using a lot of Covergirl if YouTube didn't exist, just because it's so accessible and I don't know, they just have a wide range of products. So really this video is kind of a combination of what I used before I was on YouTube / what I would be using now if I had never discovered YouTube. It would probably be pretty similar because I would still just be using makeup more as like a practical thing as opposed to like I like to collect makeup. So for concealer, I remember what concealer I had. I've always had dark circles, so my goal with concealer has always been to kind of conceal my dark circles. I remember having a concealer from Revlon that specifically said it was for dark circles. But I wouldn't buy that now, of course, because it's not cruelty free. So I figured I would probably just have like the e.l.f. 16-Hour Camo Concealer, just because it's kind of known for its good coverage, and I have a feeling I would be using a lot of e.l.f. if I hadn't really been into makeup the way that I am now. I still use a lot of e.l.f. because it's such a good brand, but I used to love e.l.f. because it was just so affordable, and they're just, I don't know, there's something about the brand that has just always really pulled me in, even before YouTube was a thing in my world. For powder, I would probably just have a super basic, cheap powder. I figured I'd probably have the e.l.f. Prime and Stay finishing powder. This is like $3, and it just does exactly what a powder is supposed to do. It's very inexpensive. That's definitely a powder that I would have owned before YouTube existed, or before I knew about YouTube. For bronzer, I remember having a bronzer from e.l.f. Again, I think they still sell it. In fact, let me look it up. Okay, yes, they still make it. It's $4. It's in like a rectangular black compact, and I think it's just called their bronzer, but it has 4 little quadrants. It comes in golden bronzer and warm bronzer. I think I had warm bronzer back in the day. I don't even think I knew how to use this back then. Like I think I would just sort of use it. I think I used it correctly. Like I would just sort of dust it all over my face to warm up my skin a little bit. But it almost has like a highlighter in it. It has a cooler quadrant, a warmer one, and then almost like maybe a blush topper kind of thing. So I would probably just have this. I don't think I would own highlighter, to be honest. Like I didn't use highlighter until I started my own channel. Like highlighter really didn't become a thing until maybe 2015-ish. That was when it really started getting popular. I don't know if I would have ever gotten into highlighter if YouTube didn't exist. It's so crazy to think about what the world would be like if YouTube didn't exist. Even just thinking about the makeup world, like the industry would be so different. So there's that one, and then there was another e.l.f. product in that same kind of packaging. I think they still make it. It's called their Contouring Blush and Bronzing Duo, and I had the shade St. Lucia. Now, I think I actually did find out about that through YouTube, but I would probably own something like that, where it's like a blush on one side and a bronzer on the other side. That's probably what I would be using on my cheeks, like on the daily. And then another blush I think I would probably own, because I remember owning this a long time ago, is a Covergirl Cheekers blush. These are just kind of like the most basic drugstore blush ever. I actually really like this one in Twinkle, or Natural Twinkle. I remember I had like a really peachy one back then, and I actually used the whole thing up. So that would be the extent of my cheek products. This Milani Rose Blush I have had since before I was on YouTube, but I was remembering I learned about this from YouTube. I bought this because of Emily Noel in like 2015, and well, I still have it. I have hit pan on it, which is pretty exciting, but yeah, this is one of my oldest products in my collection. But I don't think I'd own this if YouTube didn't exist. I don't even know if I would own very much Milani at all. Just because it's not, I don't know, do people outside of like the YouTube world and the YouTube viewers know about Milani? Probably more now than they did back then. I don't think Milani was very big at all back then, but now it's a little, they have a little bit of a bigger display in stores now. Yeah, so I don't even think I would own this. I think I would probably just own like an e.l.f. little duo or quad and like a Covergirl blush, and that would be about it. For brows, I think I would probably just have that e.l.f. little brow duo that had like a wax on one side and a powder on the other. That's what I used like forever ago, and yeah, it worked just fine for me. I thought it was like the best thing ever. Now looking back, I'm like, I don't think I was even using it correctly. Like I don't think I used the powder at all. I just used the wax, kind of the same way that you would use a brow pomade. But I don't even know if that's how you were supposed to use it. I think you're supposed to put the wax down and then the powder on top. I don't know. I didn't know what I was doing, but that's probably what I would still be using. And that and the e.l.f. Clear Lash and Brow Mascara Duo, I would use both sides of that for my brows. I would use one side until I used it up, and then I would switch to the other side, and I would use the whole thing up. I went through like 5 or 6 of those back in the day. I thought it was the best thing ever. Looking back, it wasn't doing any favors for my brows, but that's what I used. So for eye primer, again, I think I would just own the e.l.f. eye primer. I remember I had like the e.l.f. $1 eye primer. It didn't even work that well for me. Like I remember my shadow would still crease, but that was the only eye primer that I knew of. So I probably own that one, or maybe the Milani eyeshadow primer, but then again, I discovered the Milani eyeshadow primer because of YouTube, so I'd probably still just be using the e.l.f. one. But I do remember specifically seeking out an eye primer back then, because if I didn't use an eye primer, my eyeshadow would crease like crazy. Now this was back when I had really oily skin. Obviously now I don't have oily skin. I've never gotten out of the habit of using eye primer. Like I still use it every single day, just out of habit, and also just because it's just like how I do my makeup now. But if it hadn't been for my eyeshadows creasing back then, I wouldn't have even known that eye primers existed. I remember like learning about eyeshadow primer from my friend, because I was telling her like whenever I wear eyeshadow it just creases, and she was like, oh, you should get an eye primer, and I was like, where do you get those? And I think she said like, oh, you can only really get them from like expensive brands. And she, I remember, would actually go to places like the mall, like department stores in the mall, to like the matte counter, and they would do her makeup, or Clinique, and she would buy makeup from like department store counters. That was where my friend back in high school, like I guess that's what her mom did, so that's what she did. But I only bought drugstore makeup, and she told me that there were no eye primers at the drugstore, and so I didn't get one until finally e.l.f. came along and they did have one, and that's how, isn't it crazy how little we knew back then? Eye primer, whatever. Eyeshadow, I would probably just have like a couple of quads. I would probably have a Wet n Wild quad. I still have Walking on Eggshells. This one I had in high school. I also had, I remember I had Walking on Eggshells and Sweet as Candy, which is similar, but it had more of like a bubblegummy shimmery pink and like a darker brown in it. But I would probably just own one of those. And I think I'd probably also have one of the e.l.f. bite-sized quads. I'm sure that's something I would buy just because it's so cheap. And I don't think I would have any big palettes. Like if you think about, I really didn't get into eyeshadow palettes until I started watching YouTube. And then for eyeliner, I don't really know of a specific brand of eyeliner that I would have. It probably wouldn't be e.l.f. because I remember, I don't think I've ever really found an e.l.f. eyeliner that I really liked. Like I have some of their glitter liners right now, but I remember trying like their gel liner and I didn't really like that. It dried up really quickly. Their pencil liners never really impressed me, even back then before I even was into makeup. So I would probably have like a Milani eyeliner or something like that, but I would probably just have a black liquid liner, like the Jordana Cat eyeliner, and then like a black pencil liner. In fact, I may even have maybe like a brown pencil liner. I think that's probably what I would have. I remember back then I would use brown eyeliner or like navy blue eyeliner sometimes. I would use brown mascara. Which, looking back, like that's actually a good idea. I should probably try that again. Especially being so fair, I think that would actually be pretty flattering. So I think I'd probably have some like more subtle colors, like maybe a gray or a brown, or maybe a navy blue like pencil liner. I remember using that kind of thing like back then. For mascara, I would probably just use Covergirl mascara. I think I'd probably just use like the Covergirl Lash Blast Volume Mascara. This was super popular even back when I was in like 9th and 10th grade. So this is probably what I would have just stuck with forever. This is actually a really good mascara. I like this a lot. I don't like it quite as much as like the e.l.f. Keep Your Curl or the Flower Lash Warrior, but it is really good. It gives a lot of length and volume, and it's just a good mascara, so I'd probably just be using that. I used to use Maybelline mascaras a lot. Of course I wouldn't be using those now, but yeah, I probably would have like just switched to Covergirl. For lips, I think I'd only have like a handful of lip products. I have had some of these e.l.f. little matte lip colors that are in this kind of jumbo retractable pencil style since before I was on YouTube. I think the Berry Sorbet one I've had since like 2015, which I should probably get rid of this, but it doesn't smell or anything. like it's still perfectly fine. So that one, and then I also had Tea Rose back then too. This is a new one because I remember I had another one and I like accidentally threw it in the trash can or something, and then it was like contaminated. But anyway, I would probably have these. I would probably have one of the e.l.f. like moisturizing lipsticks. I remember I had the shade Ravishing Rose, which was like sort of a muted red kind of color. Really pretty. I should repurchase that. That was really pretty. But I would probably just have like a couple of e.l.f. lipsticks. I think I would have a red too. I would probably have, I've actually had this red lip liner since 2015, this Milani one. And I'd probably just have like the one I have now, this NYX lipstick in Chaos. This was like a $3 lipstick. I remember I knew about NYX back then. Like I remember I had like a NYX blush or something in like early college. So I would probably have at least one red lipstick, just because to me red has always been like a staple color. Like you have a red lipstick and then you probably have like a nude lipstick. And then I'd probably have one gloss. I figured I'd probably have something along the lines of this Milani Keep It Full Nourishing Lip Plumper in Soft Rose. This is just kind of like a nude gloss. I remember having like a light pinky nude gloss kind of like this a long time ago. So I'd probably have something like that. Maybe not the Milani one, but... And I think that's probably about it. The only other category would be setting spray, and I honestly don't think I would have a setting spray. I never used setting spray or primer before I discovered YouTube, so I probably wouldn't even own those. So yeah, that would be my full makeup collection. Let me see if I can fit this all in a makeup bag just for old time's sake. I still remember what the makeup bag that I used looked like. It was like a small plaid kind of patterned bag. It was like red and beige. I don't know where I got it. I think I got it from just like my mom's closet or something. But that was the one I used for years until I went to college, started getting more into makeup, and then I had a little set of like plastic drawers that I actually didn't switch out of using those plastic drawers until about a year ago. So I get kind of set in my ways with certain things like that. But the makeup bag I had was probably around this size, maybe even a little bit smaller. But I wanna try to fit all of this in there. Some of the things I mentioned, I don't have on hand anyway, but we'll just throw like some quads in there. Yeah, that's it. Why does this make me feel kind of sad? It's kind of sad to think about how I used to just be able to fit all my makeup in one little bag, and now I have like a whole set of drawers for them that's overflowing, which, don't get me wrong, I'm so grateful for YouTube. I'm so glad I discovered this whole crazy world and got as into makeup as I am, because it's seriously so fun for me, and I love testing out new products all the time. And my makeup collection is still considered pretty minimal for a YouTuber. I don't think it's minimal at all for like the average person, because the average person has a makeup collection like this, I think. Like you could just ask someone on the street. Most people, unless they watch YouTube or just are into makeup, because I know some people in my life who are just into makeup, they have, you know, they probably have a little set of drawers for it. But most people just have like this kind of bag that they probably just like keep in their bathroom, or maybe they bring it with them to work. I don't know, it's just kind of funny to look back on how I used to view makeup and how much it's changed since then. And it's not that I am not happy with like where I am with makeup now, because I love my makeup collection. I enjoy, you know, opening up my drawers and picking out a blush to use each day and everything. So it's just different. My mindset has changed a lot since discovering YouTube, in a good way. But I think there is something to be said for just a little old makeup bag, you know? So, wow, this video was so fun. I don't know, it was kind of a combination of like, if I wasn't a YouTuber, but also if I had never stumbled upon this YouTube world. Even if YouTube did exist, but I didn't know about it, obviously YouTube would still be influencing the makeup industry. But I think that my kind of mindset would be the same as it was back when I was in high school, before I really knew about makeup. I liked makeup and I liked trying new products, but I would not have like a set of drawers for my makeup. I don't even think I would have thought of that. Like, I don't think I would have thought to have drawers to store my makeup in, you know? Like, that wouldn't have even occurred to me. So Anyway, wow, what a fun video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was so much fun for me to film. If you did enjoy it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I'd love to see you again soon, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.